Greg, thanks again for lining this up for us. And as we have traveled across the state with this presentation, we have heard basically the same response every time that video has played, which is complete silence. I mean, it's shocking. It's shocking, and it's a question. It causes us to question, what have we done, and what are we doing, and where are we going, and what type of generation, what type of country are we handing off to the next generation because of the challenges that you just heard about and others that I'm about to share. We are in a crisis, and the American public is generally unaware of the crisis that faces us. When we have faced challenges in the past, it was like a sudden moment. We were attacked. We were faced with an epidemic of polio. There was that aha moment. Hey, we got to do something. But this is a crisis that is sneaking up on us, and it's a crisis that will reach a boiling point only when it's too late. It's too late for us to do anything about it. So we do have to ask ourselves the question: has America had its run, and is it someone else's turn to lead? America's losing its competitive edge. We see it every day in our growing trade deficit. We see it every day in the number of jobs that are lost to other countries. We see it every day in the deterioration of the educational performance of our children. Now, competitiveness really requires a high wage standard of living. And there's really only three ways for us to be competitive. We can be competitive in terms of size, but when you compare the United States to the populations of China and India, well, we can't compete favorably in terms of size. We can compete in terms of cost, but again, when you look at our high and rising standard of living compared to those low-wage economies, well, again, we can't compete in terms of cost. The only way we can compete as a nation is in terms of innovation. To be able to produce goods and develop technology that allows us to be the first to the market and to lead the world. But at a time when innovation and the very foundation of innovation, which is education, is so critical to us, it appears that we're ceding our lead to other countries. For example, in China today, there are 200 new universities under construction. 200 new universities. In China, there are more honor students in their university system than we have total college students in our country. So that's really the central point of our discussion here today and again across the state, that an innovative economy demands an educated population. And that's why we call this a quiet crisis, because if a single child can't read in the 3rd grade in America, America suffers a casualty. When a single child can't do algebra in the 8th grade, America suffers a casualty. And when a single child is not performing at the highest possible level of educational attainment, America suffers a casualty. So let me share with you how we compete in this global economy and then how Arizona competes against the other states in our nation. You heard in the video, we're 24th in mathematics and 21st in science. Isn't it ironic that on the very day that you honored students that are demonstrating high achievement in science, we as a nation are demonstrating a lack of leadership and a lack of achievement as we continue to exist in this increasingly global economy. Among 27 industrialized nations, our high school completion rate is 21st. Look at these former Eastern Bloc nations. Just a dozen years ago, were under communist rule. Poland, the Czech Republic, graduating high school students at a higher rate than the United States. Now, another way to, again, measure our academic performance is the college completion rate. And again, among these industrialized nations, we're 15th. 15th in the world. And again, at a time when innovation and an educated workforce is so critical to our future, we're ceding our leadership. Now, we have to do better, and we have to raise the educational level of our citizens and remove the barriers to higher education depicted on this slide. Now, what this slide shows is that children from low-income families who demonstrate the same academic performance as children from high-income families enter college at a much lower rate. On the other hand, the percent of the lowest achieving students from high-income families enter college at about the same rate as the smartest low-income students. I know that was a lot, but here it is in summary. In America now, it's better to be rich than smart. It's better to be rich than smart. clearly barriers to higher education, particularly by those high academically achieving students, exist, and we see it every day. Now, America must, I'm sorry, I told you a few minutes ago how we stack up in the country. Now again, think about the fact that our college completion rate is 15th among industrialized nations. Here's Arizona among the 50 states, 46th. What does that say about our state's competitiveness, again, in this global economy? If you're interested, by the way, the top 5 states are New Jersey, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and Vermont. The bottom 5 with Arizona are New Mexico, Nevada, Mississippi, and Alaska. Now, Arizona must substantially increase the percentage of our younger population with a college degree, particularly in light of Arizona's aging population, many of whom will or will soon be retiring. And that challenge is made even more significant in our state because of growth. Our population is expected to grow about 40% from the approximately $6 million level now to about 8.5 million between now and the year 2020. And much of this growth is going to occur in the younger demographic of our population. We're expected to produce 31,000 high school graduates between now and the year 2015, which is an increase of approximately 50%. But in that time, more than half of our high school graduates will come from racial and ethnic groups that have historically lower educational attainment rates. Now, when you compare this and add this to our projected job growth, by the year 2020, we're estimated to see 260,000 new jobs created in Arizona that will require a higher education degree. And this is in addition to the approximately 167,000 jobs that will be available due to retirements, again, that require a higher education degree. Now, currently, Arizona produces about 18,000 bachelor's degrees annually, but in order for us to be competitive by the year 2020, we will need to double our degree production in order to fill those jobs, in order to remain competitive economically, in order to attract the kind of high-wage jobs that we need for our future. But to visualize how our college completion rate stacks up against these challenges currently, out of every 100 ninth graders currently enrolled in Arizona schools, only 68 will graduate from high school 4 years later. And of those 68, only 19 will enter a 4-year degree program anywhere in the United States. And of those, only 9 will complete their bachelor's degree within 6 years. 9 out of 100. We're wasting an enormous amount of talent. And when we waste this talent, it creates a vicious cycle. Underdeveloped human capital means it generates less income, which generates lower tax revenue, which further reduces our investment in education, and as well as providing other critical public services, all just further contributing to the deterioration of the education of our citizens. And again, you heard this in the video, we're starting to see the results. Adjusted for inflation, we have not seen an increase of any real significance in our the median workers' earnings in over a generation. In 27 years, we have seen a mere 1.2% increase, or $500, from the year 1978 to the year 2005. Now, the fact is, the more you learn, the more you earn. And as you see in this graph, the median earnings of those with a bachelor's degree is almost double that of a high school graduate. And this chart also shows that with someone, as a result of investing in higher education, we create a higher and skilled workforce, which in turn can generate increased tax revenue, which can be reinvested back into the education of our citizens. So the only way to break the vicious cycle is to focus on education, and is to recognize that education is and what it is designed to be. It's not an expense. It's not a line item in the budget. It's an investment. And it's an investment that pays off handsomely in tax revenue, in greater preparation of our workforce, in economic development activity. Frankly, it contributes to our national security. Now, our universities contribute billions of dollars in economic benefits to the state's economy. Our